Today I'm going to lay out the framework. What is the operating layer? Why good ideas die there? And what the survivors did differently. There's a spectrum in every market where technology meets a legacy industry. And I see it most clearly in insurance. On one end sits the theorist. In insurance, this is the investor, the mathematician, the PhD who looks at an insurance market and sees it's mispriced and they have identified the perfect arbitrage opportunity. They look at the data and build a model that proves some line of insurance is leaving money on the table. And the model may be correct. Commercial auto insurance has been unprofitable for 12 of the last 13 years. The combined ratio is above 107, meaning the industry loses money on underwriting on every dollar of premium. The theorist sees this and thinks the data to fix this exists. The math is straightforward. This should be solvable. On the other hand sits the evangelist. This is the product champion, the conference keynote, the insurtech founder who says, telematics will revolutionize underwriting. IoT data is a gold mine. AI will transform claims. The evangelist shows the demo, and the demo is impressive. The technology genuinely works. The theorist is right about the inefficiency. The evangelist is right about the potential. And most of the companies they build or corporate initiatives they launch will fail anyway. They fail in the middle. The middle is where you have to understand the inefficiency and see the potential. But you also have to make it work inside organizations built on legacy infrastructure and human behavior, where the pricing algorithm meets the underwriter who's been doing this for 22 years and doesn't want your dashboard, where the real-time data stream hits a mainframe that processes batch files once a day, where the revolutionary technology meets a procurement process that takes 9 months for a proof of concept. That middle, that's what I call the operating layer. And that's where this show lives. Here's the part that most people in technology get wrong about the middle. The people there aren't being irrational. They're often being extremely rational. They're applying the same risk assessment discipline to your product that they apply to everything else in their business. They're just assessing risk you haven't thought about. Let me walk you through what actually kills ideas in the operating layer. Using insurance and telematics, because that's the world I know best, and the most mature market. The patterns show up anywhere technology meets a legacy industry. The theorist model needs data to work. In insurance, data requires disclosure. A reinsurer asking a carrier to share underwriting data is asking for something that only gets exchanged inside a trust relationship. The carrier has to believe that what they share won't end up in a competitor's product, won't be passed through overlapping board members and common investors, and won't be leveraged against them if the relationship sours. The theorist doesn't see this because trust isn't in the model. The math says the market is mispriced, and it is. But the carrier who won't share their data with a fund-backed startup isn't being irrational. They looked at the cap table. They noticed the overlapping investors with their competitor. They thought about the hold period of the PE fund and concluded that the risk of disclosure exceeds the benefit of a better pricing algorithm. That's not resistance to innovation. That's good underwriting applied to the vendor decision. The same dynamic plays out on the technology side. A telematics service provider wants carriers to integrate their driving behavior data into underwriting. The carrier says yes in the contract, and then nothing happens for 18 months. Why? Because the CIO looked at the integration requirements and realized the telematics provider's real-time API is incompatible with a policy administration system that was built when Gerald Ford was president. The IT department estimated the integration cost exceeds the budget for the telematics program itself. So the carrier has a telematics program and nobody uses the data. That's how you get 82% adoption and 40% utilization.